I'm in exile from my family.
What? Why?
I fell short of Medarda standards.
This is a tale told 1,000 times. That feeling when you have been taken out of your family because she didn't live up to what the standard of the family wanted. And that pain of being abandoned and, in her case, exiled.
I don't believe that for a second. Do you?
And when Jace asks that question, you can see on her face that it isn't just that she believes it. She knows this to herself to be true. And that's going to flavor everything else that she does. When you don't feel like you're good enough for something, you end up with two choices. You're going to believe it, or you're going to do everything in your power to prove them wrong.
This arrived for you.
She sees her family's seal on top of it, and especially type A personalities, that unknown variable causes us a lot of anxiety. And so have you ever had that time when you've been given something? And for Mel, she wants to be able to control her emotions. She's there as a councilwoman, and she wants to make sure that she portrays always that she is in control. Even with that, you heard that breath escape her as she felt that anxiety and shock seeing her family's seal.
When I was 10, your grandfather brought me to the aftermath of the Battle of Hildenar. He wanted me to know death.
As a parent, our job is to not protect our child from the horrors of the world, but to prepare them for the world that they live in. But the issue is that she's teaching Mel this lesson in the same way that her father taught her. The thing is that when we parent just because the way that our parents parented us, we miss the fact that we need to parent depending on our child's personality type, and every child is different. So what might have worked for Ambessa and been able to teach her how to be a strong ruler may not be the right way to teach Mel.
Kino says war is a failure of statecraft.
Your brother thinks he can talk his way out of anything. He fancies himself a fox among the wolves.
Mel is questioning. Her brother knows a different way, that having to rule just by the sword may not be the best way to be a ruler. And so she's questioning who she is as a person, and are these lessons the right lessons for her?
If you want to last in this world, you must learn to be both the fox and the wolf.
And so now Ambessa's kind of getting into those personality types.
She should have a kind, fat face, clever to charm her subjects, but pliable so we can mold her.
And do you hear those skills? Right now, Mel is telling her mom, hey, look at me, look at these wonderful skills I have, look at how much I've thought through this. She is definitely the fox. Mel's skill is social engineering. She understands how people work, how she can be able to mold them to be able to do what she needs. She's really good at dealing with the personal aspect of statesmanship. And you can tell that even at a really young age, she excels at it.
Perhaps she could be my daughter.
You'd give me a throne.
I will give you the world if you prove you can take it.
She would do anything for her children. But the way that she says it is, if you can take it, if you can also be a wolf.
What should we do with her?
She won't make trouble for us. Strip her of her possessions and send her to the far colonies.
And so now Mel's mom is testing her. Can she be a wolf enough to be able to rule in Noxus? And right away when Mel sees a young girl about the same age as her who's scared, you can see Mel immediately soften. Mel's mom is hoping to do is to be able to toughen her up, just like her father toughened her.
She's a symbol of the old regime. Kill her now. Only one must die. Let her live and you may need to kill thousands.
I think that Ambessa believes that we are tabula rasa. We start off as a blank slate and we can mold our children into what we want through force and teaching and imbuing all of these skills. Unfortunately, though we used to believe that, we're not. We're born with certain personality types that we already start out with. We already have some building block pieces. Because of that, you cannot strong arm someone even though you might really want to, or even feel like you have to, into what you hope them to be. And what happens often if you try to, you can end up losing them. They can end up rebelling against this, trying to be who they want, especially if you have a strong-willed child, or they can end up feeling crushed under this pressure and feel resentment towards you, and that they're not good enough for not being able to live up to what you hope for. We love our children so much that often, though we wouldn't do this to anyone else, we push way too much on those that are ours because we want them to be able to survive. And for Ambessa, because it worked for her, this was the right learning type to teach her the lessons she needs, she assumes that everyone else will feel the exact same way. We often believe that everyone goes around in the world with the same blueprint, the same book that we start with, that if something works for me, it must work for someone else. I now have the key. But that's not true. We are all different. We all have different ways in which to get to the path.
We can show the people we are merciful.
A wolf has no mercy.
And those last lines about a wolf not having mercy, and you see that forlorn look upon Mel's face of having to witness this death of someone that could be her. And this shapes Mel, but for her mom, not in the way that she had hoped, but in the way that she learns that this is not who she wants to be. I think this moment truly shows Mel that she is more fox than wolf, that she would rather rule through social engineering and understanding personal dynamics and psychology than only through the sword. And I love, you see the artwork, Mel's artwork behind her of the necklace in blood that has left a lasting image on who she is. Art is a wonderful way to be able to express yourself, to be able to get out those pains, that angst that you feel inside of you, to have it exist where you can look at it from a different perspective. You can be able to put all of that pain into imagery instead of leaving it inside of your head. And it may not be art for you. It might be dance or song or talking or journaling or sports or exercise or just thinking through it. But when we're dealing with trauma, leaving it inside of you and not dealing with it often will have it come back and leave a lasting imprint on your psyche. I love that Mel has chosen a technique to be able to express herself and her pain in order to be able to come to terms with it. Oh, that music, you can feel it. If you've ever had to confront someone that has hurt you, and in this case, someone that is a larger than life figure, this scene almost reminds me of the first time that you see Darth Vader and he walks in. Even the viewpoints of seeing someone in the smoke and they're kind of shadowed. That need to have to confront your greatest fear, and for Mel to be forced to stand there, and I just want to tell her to breathe, take a moment. It's okay. You are no longer that little girl that was so easily influenced and hurt by your mom. And in this scene, when Ambessa comes on, we still see the camera looking up at her. And I think that that symbolizes for Mel, she first confronts her mom, who's coming up from a ship, so she's really high up. She still feels like that little girl. If you've ever gone back to a principal's office as an adult, sitting in these chairs, I still feel like this child that I've done something wrong having to go to see the principal. And when we are dealing with our parents as adults, we still can feel that control, that we're still in a way a child and they are this larger than life figure. And it can be really difficult to have to go back and confront them, especially when we're still hurt and wounded by something that has happened. And I love that when Mel sees her mom, I wondered if it was going to be fear that we see in her face, but it's not. It's obstinance. That though I am nervous about this encounter, I'm not going to back down.
What are you doing here, Mother?
Can I not visit? It's been over a decade, Mel.
Since you banished me.
Oh, she went there. Even though there's everyone watching, Mel is not letting her mom off the hook for what happened. Though probably this is not the best forum to be able to discuss it. Whenever you're going to discuss something that is going to possibly offend or create a issue, it is better most of the time to do it in private where people can let their guard down. Right now, Mel's mom and Mel herself, they both are also carrying the weight of their titles with them. And so Mel's mom has to appear as a ruler and be tough like a wolf. And Mel has to show up as a councilwoman and be poised. And so they can't really have a proper argument, but Mel's been waiting for a decade to be able to talk about this, and she's going to make sure that she finds the time to be able to deal with it and know that she is not believing in all of the words that her mom is saying. She understands that if her mom is here, something is up. Because if she really wanted to see her, she would have seen her earlier than a decade.
Such drama. I sent you here to oversee our family's interests.
You feel abandoned and hurt is you being dramatic. Even though she really was sent off to a whole other land for a decade. So Mel's mom being dismissive is not doing what Mel needs to be able to feel soothed and heard and understood and validated. So Ambessa's reaction only antagonizes Mel more.
You said perhaps your sentimentality will be more at home with those soft-spined idealists overseas.
And Mel brings down the gauntlet. Often when we've been hurt or wounded, because of such an emotional event, our brains go into record mode. And so for her, she remembers every single word because it was so traumatic and so hurtful. Often when we confront our parents or a loved one about something that happened that hurt us, the other person, because they're the ones that are hoping that this goes away, don't really remember it and are hoping that they can kind of change it and soften it up a little bit so that it doesn't seem that bad.
You have your father's memory.
Don't try to ingratiate yourself with me.
I do like, though, Ambessa coming back and kind of going like she owned it, though. She's like, she didn't say, no, I didn't say that, or you're wrong. She gave her this little tiny compliment and came over and kind of gave her a squeeze like, yeah, you're right, you got me on that one. You see Mel kind of like when she gets that little squeeze, she's annoyed with her mom, but she knows she's trying to, in her mom's best way, kind of sugarcoat it and get back into her good graces.
Your brother's gone.
What happened?
She says he's gone because it's so painful for her to be able to say that he's died.
He crossed the wrong man. I was distracted. That's a mistake I can't take back.
She blames herself. I was distracted. She feels that even though they're her adult children at this stage, that it was still her job to keep them safe. And that guilt and that pain that we carry when we have a loved one, we just kind of think back to all the mistakes that we could have made, the things that we should have done. And unfortunately, sometimes bad things just happen, no matter how hard we try. And it can be a really difficult thing to be able to continue on when we're carrying that weight of what we believe is the fault of our actions. Though everyone also has to be responsible for themselves. And for Ambessa, she has to let her children go and to be the people that they choose to be, even if she doesn't agree with it.
I knew it.
War is coming.
Piltover isn't like Noxus. War isn't our first and every recourse.
And now Mel is showing the difference between the two places. That Piltover is different. It's not a place of only wolves where the only reaction is war. She's had her hand in creating a place where there are other options that we can negotiate, that we can plan, that it doesn't have to be only the blade. And she's offended that her mom is now going to try to push her agenda onto Mel, that she's tried so hard to stay away from that image of the necklace drenched in blood.
Your Jay's Talus has turned his eye to hextech weaponry. You've let the problems of your undercity fester too long.
And for Ambessa, when you feel like you've made a mistake, that she let her guard down, her want is to fully war up, that no matter what type of tool is in front of her, she's going to use the hammer to be able to deal with it. That is the only skill in her toolbox that she's found to be effective and that she has been taught and trained for.
Mel, would you like...
Stay away from Jace.
You really are fond of him.
So Mel's anger is because her mom did a boundary violation. She spoke to Mel's boyfriend, did not ask, did not tell her beforehand. Probably also her being inside of the bathtub while this entire thing happened. Hearing that tale might be also a little bit offensive. You probably shouldn't be naked around your daughter's boyfriend. Parenting, especially mothers with daughters, within 2 years, there's a whole difference, right? From a 12-year-old to a 14-year-old. And then in those 2 years, she becomes this young woman who wants her own independence. And for Mel, it's ages. But for her mom, she used to be this daughter that she could go into a room and do anything and look through her things, and Mel probably wouldn't even question it. And so those boundary violations, that pushing, can make this very difficult change in this small amount of time. And so when Mel left Ambessa, she was still a child, one that could be, in her mind, molded. And now she is a young woman. And so Ambessa, I think, also makes these errors because she does not really see Mel as the young woman that she is. And this is a mistake that many parents do with their adult children. They still treat them like a child that they can do anything they want with. And it can cause a ton of friction.
Get hold of yourself. I taught you better.
Ambessa is saying, you know what, but you should hold it together in front of everyone. I think that for this, it's more about, I don't want to be able to have to handle all of these strong emotions, but also I want you, no matter what happens around you, to be able to carry yourself as a leader. And Mel takes this. Mel also wants to always appear in control and to be able to seem like she is able to handle the pressure.
I would set the world ablaze to protect our family.
I stopped being part of this family the moment you cast me out. Why did you do it?
That pain of having to confront someone, why would you push me away? Why didn't you love me enough, care enough about me? Why didn't you see all of the skills and what I could bring? Why wasn't I good enough? All of that pain from 10 years of built up come through Mel, and that hurt in her face, that anger, and anger is usually that masking emotion. There's something beneath it, and usually it's hurt or sadness or pain come through in those words.
Because you weakened me. I couldn't endure the look in your eyes whenever I made the decisions.
It's really heartfelt, Ambessa actually letting down her guard and being honest. You can see the pain in her face, that she felt that because of Mel's heart, her empathy, that she couldn't make decisions that she felt were necessary. Mel being there might make Ambessa make a mistake where she couldn't be the leader that she had been taught by her father to be. Mel softened her, and that she couldn't be this strong protector because she cared so much about the way that Mel felt about her. And it was painful for her to see the disappointment and hurt in Mel's eyes when she made decisions that Mel didn't agree with. Parents are just big kids. We're just larger kids, and what our children feel about us actually matters so deeply also. For Mel, all these years, she thought that she wasn't good enough, that the reason that she was sent away was because she wasn't good enough in her mom's eyes, and that realization that it was actually her mom that felt like if Mel was there, that she was failing and that she wasn't good enough, and that Mel was disappointed in her actions. And she may make a decision because she cared so much that may put them in danger.
We need that weapon, Mel. Let the war unfold. And you come home, take your place at my side. It's where you belong.
You do what I want, I will bring you back to the family. You get to be what you want. And remember, Mel is that little girl when her mom says to her,
You'd give me a throne.
I will give you the world.
that's so salacious, that weight of you could get everything if you just do what I need from you.
I play what could have been.
I support Councillor Talus's proposal for peace.
That weight of Mel taking off the ring, that symbolism that though her mom has offered her probably everything that she's wanted to be let back into the family, she's making this decision to go against her mom, to risk Noxus, to do what she felt was right, and that sound of the ring hitting the table that kind of just resonates along the room. As the light lights up, like, it's just such a hard thing for us to do what we think is best when the people that have raised us that are larger than life say to do something else. Though I think her mom would completely disagree with the decision, that's what she raised her to be this. She really did become this really strong woman, that she could stand up to the largest figure to her and be able to be that wolf in that moment and do what she thinks is right, even if it goes against her own family's wishes. And I think that if she could step back and look, she'd actually be really proud of her. This is the woman that she hoped to raise.
Be yours.
And Mel's mom looking at this painting, this beautiful painting of their ship with the gold painted over it, just like how when she was being asked about who she is as a ruler,
We'll paint the walls in gold. Import crystal chandeliers.
that she would paint the walls gold and do this differently. And her mom looking at who her daughter has become, this show of opposition, but also this show from Mel of strength. Hopefully you enjoyed this video about Mel and her mom and their relationship, as complex as it is. And if you want more videos, let me know what video I should react to next and what are your thoughts about Mel and her mom. I love how all these characters have their own unique creativity and style. You can find yours as well with Find Your Style, 5 exercises to unlock your creative identity on today's sponsor, Skillshare. This is a really fun and inspiring class. You follow Andy J. Pisa, who lays out 5 hands-on exercises to help you unlock your artistic identity. Working in the medium of your choice, you'll explore who you are and what you have to say, and then put it all together in your own personal style guide. And I hope that you have fun doing it, because I really did. But Skillshare has so much more than any one class. It's an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves to learn. Whether you want to explore your creativity or invest in yourself or your own personal growth, or just kick off 2022 with something new. From video to photography to illustration and design, business, freelancing, and so much more, you can find a Skillshare class that'll match your goals. Or maybe even fuel the new you, or even a new career or hobby. It's wherever I go, anytime I want to learn anything, because it's curated specifically for learning, meaning there's no ads. There are always new, different premium classes available, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity so takes you. Because you're watching this video, the first 1,000 of you that click the link in the description will get 1 month trial of Skillshare for free. So just click on that button on the screen and start exploring your creativity today. And thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And if you like this video, please hit subscribe. And if you want to support my channel, you can support me through Patreon.